Hello, welcome to the Redeye stream. This is Star Trek, well, Picard, episode 5. I am joined once again this week by Nerd. His link for his channel is in the description this time. I'm a little bit better. So there you go, Nerd. It's in there. And, well, let's get right to it. I didn't have to rip my own eyeballs out for this one. They did it for us. What'd you think about that?
Damn, fucking, cunt, fucking, bastard, fucking, and go like that for several hours. And that was my initial impression of this episode. Um, I, what the fuck do you say about it? Like, I mean, you have them ripping the fucking eyeball out of somebody. I'm just saying, in the future, we have seen doctors use techniques to take stuff out that was a hell of a lot, less painful, even if they were conscious. Not to mention that just ripping it out could, hurt some of the technology. You would think they'd want to do it safely so they get the most out of the technology. So again, I honestly believe it was gore for the sake of gore, just like STD.
And what's really weird is I double checked. Jonathan Franks did direct this episode. So the contrast between the episode before, where it wasn't gory, even though someone's head got chopped off, that wasn't even gory. That wasn't that bad. We open with an eyeball being ripped out. I made the joke when I did my initial reaction with Frank. I had to check and make sure Saw wasn't in the DVD player. And I think you made the same joke in your review, right?
Yeah, because this is not Star Trek. You don't have an opening like that in Star Trek. You might have a dramatic opening of some sort, but it would never be just outright gore for the sake of outright gore. You know, and plus, this was even better. They didn't even get Manu, the guy who played Egypt, to actually play fucking Egypt. You know, because apparently he said something on Twitter that CBS didn't like.
That's ridiculous. Maybe they just didn't want to bring him back. I don't know. Maybe the other actor was better. He kind of looked like him at least. They cast the right guy.
They didn't cast the right guy. They should have cast Manu. The reason they didn't. I'd say the reason they didn't bring him back is because they brought him back. He would have to get residuals and stuff. They don't mind paying Jerry Rand, who's a bigger. Well, I wouldn't say she's overly known, but she's known in the TV world. But bringing back this guy for who will play the original for five, bringing him back for 5 minutes would probably mean he'd have to get more money. And I'm sure CBS is trying to give all the money to fucking Stewart.
Well, he's probably gonna have to buy a new heart just to make it through this series. So hey, he needs all the money he can get, right? Illegal transplants are expensive. But
Well, no, actually, now that you say that, Matt, have you noticed that his voice has got lower since the start of the app, since the start of the season?
no, I didn't notice that, but now that you mention it, I think you're right.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the first episode and then watch Picard episode 5, you'll notice he's really deep. It's like someone who's having a hard time just saying the words. So I think his age is finally getting to him.
Huh. I don't know. I know they've already announced there will be a season 2 and I think he'll be in it. So, we'll see. Okay. They rip out the eyeball. Jerry Ryan comes in. Okay, fine. We'll do this properly. Seven of Nine comes in, and she ends up killing him. Wait, they don't have ocular implants anymore like Jordy has. I mean, not like the Borg implants. I mean, like Jordy's eyeballs. That doesn't that doesn't exist now.
Yeah, well, it's never explained. It's never. Well, this is basically this fucking show, but nothing's ever explained in it. But they turn around and try to say, I mean, like we saw he was tortured, but we've seen people tortured before, or the after effects of the torture, like Picard himself was tortured, you know. So it's not to say that they couldn't have, beamed Ichib to a ship and gotten EMH to fix him. It was perfectly possible, but for some reason, uh, again, this is just because script says so. We need a big shocking moment. Let's kill off fucking Egypt. That was it. They didn't care about creating any sort of backstory for him. It was just get him there, kill him, move on. We're not meant to think about it, you know. But the simple fact is, uh, Seven of Nine again. If you remember, Voyager said she would rather die than hurt each head when her cortical node was defunct. She said she would rather die than hurt Egypt, and here she happily just fucking kills him. You know, so again, the 25% difference is fucking real, folks.
Well, and here's the thing, okay? He says, "Please," and then she's like fake crying and kills him, right? What if he was like, "Please beam me to the med bay"?
Well, you see, that's the problem. Again, they only wanted shock value. Kill someone, so it's something for fucking Seven, but they didn't care about his character. Again, this is another reason you can tell that the people involved in this, and that's the writers, director, even Frakes himself, doesn't give a fuck about Star Trek anymore. He'll happily take CBS's paycheck to help destroy fucking Star Trek. But then what do you expect from a bunch of fucking Hollywood hypocrites, So, yeah, I just hated that fucking scene from start to finish.
Absolutely. And let's move on. It flashes back to the ship, I believe, right? I think you took a little bit more notes than I did, and it's been a few days since I watched it.
Well, actually, we meet Pajado in the in her club, looking like one of Quark's Dabo girls.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that when they actually beam down. So yeah, we do. We meet the evil lady and Maddox, right?
Yes, who just how happens to look like fucking Jordan Peterson. I'm sure there's no ideological bullshit there.
I noticed that as well. I'm willing to let that slide. I mean, maybe the actor just looks like the dude. Maybe they didn't write it that way. But it is funny how they torture the poor old bastard.
Yeah, well, I'm not as forgiving as you are, Mod, because I think they knowingly did it, fucking intentionally made him look like fucking uh, uh, Peterson, just to push a point. They're not, it was subtle at the start, but they're not being subtle anymore about the fucking shit they're pushing. And even Stewart has said multiple times now he's doing it to push a bullshit agenda. So yeah, I would say it's definitely him looking like him for a reason.
You might be right. Why was he there again? Is he trying to get away because of the ban on synthetics? Is that the reasoning? They go through it so quick and go right to capturing him for the Romulans.
Well, apparently, uh, he he, I don't know, he left Star Trek or Starfleet for some reason. It's never explained why he left Starfleet, but then he leaves Starfleet, goes to the Romulans, asks for their a loan to build a lab. Then, for some reason, we think it's the Shadvash who destroy his lab, and now he's on the run and he's looking for a safe place to stay or a way out, and that's why he goes to Bajazzle. So again, more and more questions.
Yeah, which is really odd because I don't remember seeing any Orion Syndicate people in this club. So she's not connected with them. Is there a different criminal group? I mean, I'm sure there would be in a gigantic galaxy. I get that. But why not just use the Orion Syndicate? We know who they are. We can identify them. Why not use them?
Well, we know that. I mean, like he was working up until recently. I mean, this is another problem with this show, right? When we first meet Agnes, and I think episode one, Monix and her were working in that lab, and it was only a little while before that Monix left. So Monix honestly couldn't have been working with the Romulans more than a few weeks, maybe a few months. So it's never explained exactly when he left, but I mean, I'd have to watch episode one again, which I really don't want to do, but I never heard Agnes saying, "Oh yeah, he left years ago," because remember, Agnes looks and Monarchs look exactly the same age in the hollow image of them baking cookies as they do now. So he couldn't have left more than at most a year ago. So again, there's more holes in the timeline.
Yeah, unless you well, maybe I'm giving the writers too much credit. But if you add in the fact that in the future, we age slower because we have better medical technology, back to the eyeball. Just forget about the eyeball. That's not the eyeball you're looking for. Forget about it. But theoretically, they would look the same even over a 5, 6 year difference.
Well, no. I mean, come on. If you look at, let's be honest, you look at season one Enterprise and look at season four of Enterprise or of TNG, sorry, uh, and they all look different. I'm sorry, but they can't look exactly the same. I mean, they didn't even de-age them any to say, because remember when we first meet Maddox in TNG, he's this young 20-something, clean shaven, and now he looks like he's 50-ish, covered in a beard, dating Agnes, who looks like she's 20-something. So again, it's not very well made. They don't explain, okay, how long has he been away from this lab? Is it months, years? Because if it's years, they look the same in the video as they do in later on when they meet. So that's a fucking clusterfuck.
Yeah, and okay, so some reason the Romulans are looking for Maddox. That's why he's on the run. She decides, I'm gonna trade him off to the Romulans. And then they just hold him waiting on some Romulans to show up. How long is he held before Picard and company get there?
Well, remember in episode four, at the end of episode four, or coming near the end, uh, Rafi says she has found Maddox on Free Cloud, right? And yet, in its episode five, where Maddox meets up with Bajazzle, and Bajazzle puts him up for auction that, his shield sell him to Haas bidder. So how did Rafi find him on Free Cloud before Bejazzle even knew he was in Free Cloud.
That's a very good point. There's another plot hole. You're right. All right. If we count every plot hole, we'll be here all night. So, yeah. So they capture him and they take him to the back to torture him like old school gangsters in Casino. All right, fine. I'm okay with that. Now we're on the ship. Finally, we're on the ship. We're gonna have the doctor who's never been in space before because she thought space would be so exciting, but it's really boring as hell. So she's never been up in space in Star Trek or whatever. Okay, so we're gonna leave her in control of the transporter, not an EMH, not a
Okay,
tactical EMH. Her.
you're getting a bit ahead of yourself there, son. Remember, we have the Picard talking to Seven scene long before that.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and touch upon that one. I kind of just skipped over it. Yeah, you're right.
Well, apparently we find out that Seven is a hard drinker now, straight whiskey. Yes, MC, you're fucking late. Minus 50 points. But we find out that Seven is a Fenris Ranger which is a vigilante group who operate outside the law. So apparently the Federation, its sheer size doesn't care about this, vigilante group, even though they, stopped the Maquis, another vigilante group. Apparently, what's left of the Romulan Empire doesn't care about this vigilante group. Apparently, the Klingon Empire don't care about this vigilante group. Apparently, none of the governments in the entirety of the Star Trek universe give a shit that there's a vigilante group running around. Yes, that's
Not
completely believable.
not only that, but this vigilante group is made up entirely of ex-Starfleet officers. That's not dangerous at all.
Where did you hear that?
Well, Seven's in it. Okay, and according to her, when she's telling the story, right? She's saying, "You left. You never came back. Everything fell apart. We're here holding it all together." So I assume they're all ex-Federation, like her.
No, I couldn't see that now. Although, fuck knows what's going on in the Shite Trek Federation. Fuck knows. Maybe they are. Exactly, MC. And like, she says there's no law in the future. Again, does she understand how big the Federation is? And the Federation does have laws, but apparently now the Federation doesn't actually exist because I don't fucking know.
Your head's gonna explode. That's why. No. Um, I assumed that they were ex-Federation officers like her because why? Who else would she group up with?
Well, that's the thing, right? Uh, who would she? Remember, when we last saw her, um, she was basically going to get married to Chakotay. She had done a lot of science at the Borg. She had been um, with the Voyager crew doing the science thing, and now she wanted to explore her human side. Love, marriage, all that kind of stuff, visiting Earth. She had no real want to be out there doing shit. So I'm just saying this. There's no reason for her to be there in the first place, since she was almost, even after a long time in Enterprise, she was still more like Tuvok. Well, at that side, If that thing has to die over there for the greater good, then let it die. She was very practical because of her, Borg upbringing. So I don't know how she has did a complete 180 and is now fucking uh, yes, I must save everybody vigilante. That simply wasn't in her character. But again, this is not just like this is not our Picard. This is not our Seven either. These are completely different characters now.
Well, granted, she is different from the last time we saw her, but a lot happens in 20 years. I
Yes, but
saw.
the
Uh,
problem
Go
here,
ahead.
Mod, is they don't tell us what happened.
Yeah, that's a good point. All there is some comic books or something that are supposed to fill in the gap. And since when are comics and books real canon? As far as I knew, they were not.
Well, no, it's just extremely bad writing. This thing is, right? I could jump on and watch any episode of TNG and know what's going on. Same thing for the original series, DS9, Voyager, etc. I could do that easily. Here, I have to watch something called short tracks and read comics to understand what the fuck is happening in the TV show, you know, that I'm meant to pay for. That's bad writing. And it's either extremely incompetent bad writing or sheer greed, like they did with Star Wars, because Star Wars didn't explain anything either. They said, okay, if you want to know what happens in the first one, you have to go and read these three books and visit this website to understand the movie. The simple fact is, if I have to go and look at fucking comic books and stuff to understand the TV series I'm watching, it's a fucking badly written TV series, you know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And Aunt Jack says, in 20 years, you mad will be inherently mad, just as mad as you are now. People don't change, not like how they're making her change. Do you agree with them? And it's funny how saying that sentence to be just as mad as you are now, mad.
Yeah, no, I'm Jack. I think you're wrong. I think Mod will even be, well, more Mod than he is now. I'd say in 20 years' time, with half a dozen teenage daughters and sons, he'll probably be, running around the house in his underwear with a shotgun and a can of beer, going, "Fucking young people."
Oh, you mean Saturday nights? No, kidding. No. Okay. Um, they do have the conversation and they try and fill in some of the gaps. I don't like this renegade story, and I am saying that on purpose. If you've seen the movie Star Trek Renegades that CBS shut down, that is a show about Seven of Nine's group. Really, I mean, they're copying a fanfic here.
Yeah, I mean, not. I mean, you could actually make the argument that this is a complete rip-off because uh, basically the lead female character in that is what Seven's character is in this series. Plus, we have the ship, we have the holograms. A lot of it is probably stolen directly from Generations. But yeah, another thing I would bring up too is that uh, apparently we're led to believe, from the way they talk to each other, that Seven of Nine and Picard know each other, and yet Rafi states that in the time that she's known him, which is over 15 years, which is not long after Nemesis, uh, he didn't know her at all. So exactly at what time did Seven and Picard become friends? Again, another something else that is never explained and doesn't fit into their own timeline they have built. You know,
Yeah, I would counter that with what did Rafi just follow Picard around whenever he went to Ryza for fun? Maybe he ran into Seven on Ryza. Maybe she was getting a tan. Who knows?
Right.
And I know, I remember Picard hated Risa.
Are you saying he did a line with Sabin like he did with Fosh?
Oh, um, yeah, okay. So they have. I'm gonna move on from that. They have the conversation, and now they're prepping right to beam down the free cloud.
Not yet, lad. You've jumped another scene. Sorry. In fact, you've jumped a couple. Um, I know I'm a bit more anal than you are. Right. We see everybody had a problem with the uh, watching Agnes or Agnes watching the Hollow vid where her and Monix baked cookies. But as I explained in my review, Riker cooked, Cisco's father cooked, everyone cooked in Voyager, etc. So people cooking in the future is nothing strange at all. But the problem with that scene was that Maddox doesn't like replicated cookies, but he replicated all the ingredients from the replicator and then made the cookies. So he's still literally eating replicated cookies.
Um, I would say no, because if you got each ingredient and then you made them yourself, it's gonna be variables in you preparing them, as compared to the computer that will be exactly the same every single time. So I kind of disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, but if you want chewy cookies, you put the you type into the replicator you want chewy cookies. The replicator can literally make any type of cookies you want. So if he can type into it exactly the way he wants the cookies made, I'm just saying it's not like the replicator can just put out, hard cookies. It can put out any type of cookies. So why exactly? And remember, he's not using real ingredients. I could understand if he went to all the trouble of, getting real ingredients. That would make sense. But using replicated ingredients is just replicated cookies. No matter how different you make it with a bit of extra flour or so on, they're still replicated cookies.
Um, in Deep Space Nine, Cisco once a week would make dinner in his quarters and invite Jadzia, and he hated to, but sometimes Bashir, he never did invite O'Brien, did he? That's rude. But anyway, Major Kira, and stuff like that. Are you saying that he went to Quark and was like, hey, I need this list of stuff, real ingredients. Go find me a cow and slaughter it, Quark. Or do you think he went to the replicator and said, 2 pounds ground beef?
He went to Quark, and you can tell that because of what he says. Remember, there are some things he couldn't get, so he uses alien ingredients. He also, you know, the way his father and him cooked together, he would only ever use real ingredients. We never see him replicating ingredients. We see him making the dinner with ingredients. So, but it's never said that he replicated them. So I would, because of his personality and his connection to his father's restaurant, I would say he did get fresh ingredients from Bejor.
Okay. They never actually say, so I'm willing to take that as you're right, because I don't see his dad not using real ingredients. But the odd part about that is I thought Picard said in TNG that they no longer eat real living animals. They replicate um the taste. Like it's almost like everything is tofu.
Picard probably did. You see, that's the thing. It was never really explained to us because we know the Klingons eat fresh food. We know the Romulans and Cardassians eat fresh food. Fresh meat. So I would say somewhere on Earth there probably is a farm where cows are I couldn't see cows being extinct or people just saying, okay, we're not going to even have any real food anymore because I think there'd be one or more riots over that idea. But I'd say on a spaceship, everything has to be replicated and stuff. And maybe in most parts of the Federation, but I'd say there still is probably some planets and stuff. I think that's a discussion all by itself. We could have a separate time, but yeah.
I know we're such nerds. We're gonna. Okay, so how do they eat?
Yeah, and that would probably be 3 hours long, and get about 1,000. Well, actually, I'd probably get 1,000 upvotes because there's probably many nerds like ourselves who would enjoy every fucking minute of it.
Yeah, no, and MC asked, why doesn't the replicator make steel beams or entire houses or even friggin' entire starships? They do have larger industrial replicators that do make parts. But I think everything still has to be assembled.
Yeah, that's um the reason they can't make starships is basically like it's the same thing as Terminator 2 MC. The the T-1000 could only make knives because he couldn't make individual parts. You can replicate all the parts to make a house, but you then have to build the house out of the parts. So you can't, you can probably make steel beams, but bollocks, steel beams even, and your light switches and your light bulbs and whatever all come from the replicator. But as Mad said, you do have to put it all up, you have to build it all yourself. So yes. And no, you can't have cup of Earl Grey, you fucking pansy. Mm.
Slip some whiskey in that tea. No, okay, so the cookie thing, one last comment on it. Maybe Maddox was just hitting on her. Oh, and he knew that he could just replicate the cookie. So, not to get back into the food conversation, but maybe that's what it was. And that's why she was watching it. It was a good moment.
Yes, that was the reason for it, but we'd rather fight over the food.
What's the next scene? You said I skipped a couple. I do remember
Yeah,
the cookie thing now.
the next scene, the holographic advertisements. Yes, now, as I said in my review, there are a number of problems with this. First of all, for those to work, every ship in the Federation, or at least, well, not just the Federation, every ship in the universe has to have, hollow emitters on its bridge for those advertisements to be useful. Not to mention that for them advertisements to actually activate, someone on the planet of Free Cloud needs to have access to your ship's computer to actually start the hollow emitters and show those advertisements. Now, do you think that's really a safe thing to do, considering the amount of viruses you could put inside them?
Um, this isn't STD. Leave viruses out of this.
It's not fucking far off.
Okay, so I liked the advertisement thing because I've seen it before. You know where I saw it? On Deep Space Nine, on the station. Quark did it. And sure enough, on the planet, when we beam down, behind them is a sign that says Quark's bar. So I'm okay with it. The
No, you see,
animation.
no, man. See, the problem is you own a ship, right? Someone is hacking into your ship to take control of your hollow emitter system to show those advertisements. Do you not think that might be a bit of a security issue with someone hacking into your computer to be able to show those holographic? I have no problem with the holographic advertisements if they were just on the planet outside the bars and whatever, but someone sending them to your ship without your authorization, again, do you not think that's a bit of a security issue?
Actually, you have a point. The writers should have put those holograms on the planet outside of the shops, had them actually walk around the city a little bit more, and not jump right to the bar.
Hang on, did you say that there was a sign for quarks on the planet?
There is. It's in the background when they show the actual street. Yeah, there's a sign that says Quirk's Bar. I didn't notice it either until I was watching Trek Yards and they freeze framed it, and there it is. Sure enough, it's there.
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, well then I'll talk to the chat while he's checking checking to see if I'm correct or not. Who wouldn't use ad block in the future when all their needs are met? Hey, good point. Put ad block on your starship. Okay, NMC is still on the cookie argument. If you can replicate a whole cookie, that means it took all the ingredients and made the cookie. Therefore, we're full of shit. You should be able to replicate an entire starship. You could probably replicate a model, a little flying model of the Enterprise. That'd be kind of cool. But I'm not sure, because how big of a replicator would you need to replicate a starship? And how complicated would that be? Now, modular houses for like emergency housing, that would probably be possible. I could see that easily. Wasn't it said replicating was highly efficient in the Star Trek universe, and part reason why most species does not even use that technology? Oh, they don't. Yeah, replicating is actually really complicated, and you find that out in Voyager when even the Kazon do not have replicating technology. And a runabout, maybe. How did in Voyager? How did they make the Delta Flyer? I think he actually built the Delta Flyer in the holding bay. I think he replicated the parts. So
I put something in Discord there for you, Mod. It doesn't say Quark's Bar, it says Quark Bar. Now, why would they leave out the S?
Are you going with the 25% difference?
Well, I'm not sure it's 25. It says more like 40% or 50% difference, but yes, the contract says it has to be different. So it's just interesting that they didn't call it Quark's Bar, it's Quark Bar. Very strange. And not to mention,
go ahead.
Why is Quark on Free Cloud?
Oh, and I don't think you've played Star Trek Online, but if you had, it's in that game. Quark actually franchised his bar out, so it's all over the galaxy now.
And they couldn't take 2 seconds to put this. No, of course they couldn't. You know, I shouldn't have to play a game. MC, don't start talking to Voyager like that, or me.
You know, Voyager is not my favorite, but I actually have the comm badge and stuff from Voyager. I bought it. It was cheaper than the one for Enterprise.
Hello, Frank. How you doing, son? Yeah. So, right, we've covered the blah blah blah. Then 7.
Did you like the idea of her punching the robot to get rid of that ad, and then go ahead and jump forward?
I think again that would work better down on the street. Didn't bat for a second on the ship, but having to knock it out. I mean, surely they would know that someone who is hiding away from the fucking thing wouldn't punch it. So I'm not sure I buy that. But anyway, Sabin tells everyone that Bejazzle for years has been stripping Borg for parts. So, and now we know from the canon of this series that the only Borg ship has been and is in control of the Tal Shiar. So, where exactly is Bajazil getting all the Borg from?
Probably a contact on that cube. Because they're disassembling the Borg and trying to. Sorry about that. The kids hit the door. My desk is right next to the front door. Um, okay, so we know that they're disassembling the Borg and trying to reintegrate them into society. Um, Therefore, they would have a bunch of extra parts lying around. Probably a contact inside the cube.
Yeah, because that's believable that Tal Shiar sharing stuff. Remember, the people working on that ship, the humans and everyone else, are basically prisoners. But do you honestly, and with the amount of fighters outside, do you honestly think it would be feasible for anybody, especially the Tal Shiar in control, and with the Shad Vash guy also in control, to be able to sell parts to a third party? Do you honestly think that's possible?
Um, in this show, yes, but I see your point. It shouldn't be possible. Security, it looks like security is really pretty hardcore on that cube, and as it should be. It's a Borg cube for God's sake. But I don't know. Maybe there's other Borg crashes somewhere or something like that.
Yeah, but they have to explain this. That's the problem. I mean, having finding Borg anywhere is like big news. You could have an entire episode just about finding a half dozen Borg on a planet, but for some reason, oh yeah, they've just been doing it for years. We're not going to tell you where they're getting the Borg from. She has been. You know, it's just another plot hole.
Well, and I know you're not going to give these guys too much credit, but there are some plot holes that aren't plot holes. They are, stuff to be revealed later, right? You can't just info dump everything if you're trying to do a mystery story, which is what it looks like this is supposed to be.
No, you don't have to tell us everything, but you actually do have to tell us everything at some point in time. You know, her saying that we've been doing, she's been stripping these Borg for years. The any normal person would go, well, okay, in the writers' room, okay, where is she getting the Borg from? Can we have a line where someone's selling her them from the Borg ship? That's all it would take. One little line, but they can't do that. And that's the problem, and that's why okay, we'll not call it a plot hole, we'll call it an unanswered question, just like the dozens of other unanswered questions that halfway through the season, I think we can guarantee will never be bloody answered.
Yeah, and from the preview, the trailer for the whole season, Picard runs into Deanna and Riker. I am really surprised we're halfway through and they haven't done that yet. Because now they know about the cube, right? So they're gonna go straight to the cube. When are they running into Riker and Deanna? Was that just fucking with us?
Honestly, I think that's the last episode. I think we're going to have the episode 8 and 9 will be the big showdown, the big reveal, yada yada yada, and then episode 10 will be Picard going to Diana and Riker and telling him his plans, what he's going to do for season 2, and that's what that's all about. I think that'll be in the very last episode.
I hope you're wrong, but I think you might be right. Okay, so we went through that. Oh, now this is when they're finally getting ready, right? They're all gonna do drugs together, and he's gonna get the pilot guy or captain is gonna get his barbiturate load. Right?
Yes. So they're all getting ready, and for some reason, um, right. Well, first of all, let's get on it. Pimp. A '70s pimp is a disguise now. But anyway, um, we have this just wound me up no fucking end, right? So Rafi creates a false identity for Captain Reyes using his real name.
Yeah. Only thing I can think of is that this captain is just a shitty actor. It's kind of like an actor whose character has their own name. You know what I mean? Like Sean Connery playing Sean Connery? No, Conley. Sean Conley. Yeah, we'll go with Conley.
Yeah, but you're going in against, she's doing all these backstories that he's a slave or some fucking thing. She's putting in credit accounts and all, but she's calling him Reyes. All anybody has to do, especially with Bejazzle, who, let's be honest, would have access to records and stuff, type in Reyes. Oh, look, he's ex Starfleet, runs his own ship now. He's not what they say he is. Again, you can't build a secret identity and then use your real fucking name.
Yeah, worst cover story ever. That's for sure. The outfits though didn't bother me. Unlike you, I liked the holodeck. Well, I'm not saying you didn't like the holodeck episodes from TNG. I wouldn't put words in your mouth. But you saying he looks like a 70-year-old pimp. Well, Hugh Hefner for one. And
No,
for
no, no.
two,
I'm saying that Captain Reyes is dressed like a 1970s pimp. I have no problem with them dressing up from the holodeck. That's the holodeck. They're there to have fun. When Picard dressed up as the gumshoe, I have no problem with that. You can wear anything onto the holodeck. This is real life, and someone's going to take him seriously dressed like a 1970s pimp.
yeah, and what did they call them? A face or something like that?
I have no fucking clue. Yeah.
Well, no, it was weird because if they used the word face, like I think they did, that's a wrestling term. You have your face in your heel. That's a stupid term.
Maybe it was space or something. It was something that I'd never heard of before. So I don't know. Maybe they're just making fucking shit up again. But then uh, Rafi then says here, we're going to give you something that's going to change your pheromones and all when you need it. But this lizard guy, right? This lizard guy has over 1,200 senses, right? Can tell a person's smell, perspiration, etc. And yet the lizard guy doesn't uh, sense when Reyes's emotions and his pheromones completely change thanks to the drugs. He doesn't notice that at all.
Yeah, no, he doesn't really notice, and that is weird because the drugs going into his system would have changed his scent at least.
Yes, especially since it didn't start working until halfway through the fucking conversation with the lizard guy. So for the first half of the conversation, the lizard guy with 1,200 senses is sensing one thing, then the drugs kick in, completely changing Reyes's pheromones, sweat level, moisture, uh, 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 what do you call it? Your heart rate, etc. And he doesn't sense this and think something's odd.
Not only that, but I think she specifically said it was barbiturates that were time release. So if he's completely sober and then they get released into his system, his pupils would dilate.
again, man, this is bad writing. You know, if he had took the thing and let it and it had activated straight away, and then he had went down, then during the entire conversation he would have been the same. But because he completely changes halfway through the conversation, it would seem odd. But again, we'll just put it down to bad fucking writing. Surprise, surprise. And
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. If you have something to say about that, go ahead.
Well, no, you're right. That's pretty much it because it should have kicked in immediately, and then he should have beamed down. But what they wanted was they wanted the gun pull, and I'm sure you're gonna get to that next. So go ahead. The lizard guy pulls the gun, and then the drugs kick in. He should have just squeezed the trigger, right?
Well, I didn't care about the gun scene because, quite frankly, I started to lose hope at this point. But one thing I would say, we see Reyes walking into the bar at the start, and he gets scanned, right? And yet people are beaming in and out of the bar the whole time he's in it. So do you have to go through the front door, or can you not just beam in?
Yeah, I don't know because later on they have that emergency beam out also when Seven comes back, but that's the last scene. Surprisingly, we're almost there. Why? Because it's a 45-minute episode with an 8-minute intro and another 5 minute of flashbacks, and you really get 28 minutes of story. Welcome to Scrubs.
And isn't it fucking interesting how a French character born in France has the shittiest French accent you've ever heard and looks like a Bond villain from the 70s?
Um, I have an answer for that I didn't know about until I watched another video by a YouTuber, and I guess Patrick Stewart would make that fake accent off camera just when they were on TNG, for fun. It was a gag. And so he got a chance to actually do it in canon, so he decided to do it. Okay, if you were doing it off camera before as a gag, and now you want it as Jean-Luc Picard wouldn't do that. Is this just Patrick Stewart like being like, screw it, I'm gonna destroy the character I built in my old age for the hell of it?
I think that is exactly what this is. Patrick Stewart doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care about Star Trek. He doesn't care that his entire career, let's be honest, was built on fucking his portrayal of Captain Picard. And now he's at the age and the ideological bullshit that he just doesn't give a shit. I mean, if you're going to do some acting, actually act, actually try to make it believable, but it was so stupid and over the top that it was completely unbelievable. I mean, how is it that the fucking guy with 12,000 or 1,200, sorry, senses didn't pick up that the card was lying? We never see him get injected.
Yeah, you have a point, and they should have did this show 15 years ago. It would have made sense. If they would have told Jonathan Franks, hey, get out from behind the damn camera, get on the treadmill, lose some weight, and we're going to throw you on the Titan. Star Trek Titan is our new show. I would be happier. But no, we get Patrick Stewart killing Jean-Luc Picard on screen, and I'm paying for it. Yay. Go ahead and continue.
And I'm not paying for it. But right. This is another throwaway line that is never going to be explained. Now we know that the Tal Shiar have had the Borg cube for years, right? So Picard says that Seven is not one of the new Borg. What new Borg?
I was guessing he was referencing the newly freed Borg from the cube. I'm guessing if they separate them from all their implants and they end up kind of like Seven is, that they release them. But why would the Tashiar release anybody? That's not their game.
No, but we know for a fact that the Tal Shiar haven't released any of the Borg because they're still on the Borg ship. We see them walking around with all their most of their implants removed. You know, they keep the Romulans axe Borg off in one wee bit, but we see the other Borg walking about. They don't let the Borg go. So again, where's the new Borg?
Did any Borg follow Voyager back from the Delta Quadrant?
No, they were destroyed in what do you call it? Uh, the way the Borg don't use warp travel. They use shit. They use a different type of opening to go through space, and all the ones that tried to come back were actually destroyed inside of it. So no, they didn't come back with Voyager. So yeah, another sentence throwaway line that opens up more questions that will never be fucking answered.
Yeah, and then all hell breaks loose, right? With Maddox.
No,
When
no,
they
you've jumped the scene again, old boy. No, we get a shot of, and you can't tell me this isn't ideological bullshit. We get a shot of a reproductive healthcare service.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and give your thoughts on the son who hates his mom and the Romulan woman who her son is with, but doesn't really. Okay, is your mom staying with us for a while? No, she was just leaving. Wait a minute, she just got here and now she's leaving. There's obviously a problem. Maybe I should ask my husband. Nope, can't do that.
No, well, here's the thing about that, right? First of all, we know from one of your favorite shows, Enterprise, that humans and Vulcans and Romulans are biologically the same. They just have a different view on life. One embraces the emotions, the other doesn't. So Vulcans and Romulans aren't that different. And we know from Enterprise that T'Pol and Trip had a kid. We know from the original series that Spock is half human, half Vulcan. So for over 100 years, uh, they've been having, and we know that B'Elanna's half Klingon, etc., etc. So we know people have been having kids with other races for over a century, and yet for some reason they need a reproductive hospital. Why? Again, the only reason not to, as the EMH on Voyager proved, your average doctor in the future can deal with any problems with interspecies baby. So they've no need for this fucking ideological bullshit being shoved into Picard. But anyway, we find out that Rafi left her wife and husband because she was a fucking snake leaf head, and she became obsessed with this conspiracy between the Federation and the Romulans, or the Tal Shiar, should I say? And he's having fucking none of it. He says, "Well, you left us." She says she's clean now, that she hasn't smoked, but we saw her smoking 2 episodes ago, which is about 3-4 days in universe time. So that was a quick cleanup. And I think that, her son having a Romulan wife is just a little bit on the fucking nose, since everything else in the show is Romulan.
Um, if I remember correctly, it is possible for the humans and Vulcans to have offspring, but there was a medical procedure that had to be done, kind of like between Klingons and Trill. Like Jadzia would have had to have something done, a procedure done to have Worf's baby, for example. She ends up dead, but that's neither
Yeah,
here nor there.
but Bashir would have done that, not fucking a special reproductive service.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. No argument. And I think the son's an idiot. She was lying, but there's nothing in Star Trek that says characters can't lie, especially characters on drugs.
Yeah, I have no problem with anybody lying, but I can see it from the son. I mean, just think about it. Uh, your mother's a meth head. She says, "Right, fuck you both. I'm out of here." I can understand why he doesn't want to see her. I mean, it's been what 14 years since he's actually seen her at all, and this is the first meeting. I would say that this is the way the first meeting would go. I would say it would have to be the third, fourth, or maybe even fifth meeting between the two of them before he starts coming around her. I never thought for a second he'd immediately go, "Oh, hi, mom, it's you again. Let's be best friends again."
Yeah, I didn't like the idea of she just ran out on her family. That's a little un-Starfleet, right? Like even Dr. Crusher had Wesley aboard a dangerous ass starship.
Well, that's it. I mean, like, again, she was addicted to, and still is addicted to snake leaf, but I think that's one of the problems with the show. They're trying to, I mean, like, if she wasn't in Starfleet and she was had been a renegade person all her life, I could understand it. But she was in Starfleet. She made the rank to lieutenant, which means she had to be very by the book and thing. And then she just changed completely and fucked off for 14 years. So, yeah, again, I think we can just have to put this down to bad writing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then supposedly she disappears back to the ship, which she had said that she just wanted to be dropped off there, and that was it. But that's the very last scene, I believe, right?
Uh, it's one before the last, as far as I remember. But uh, anyway, so they're in the bar. Everything goes tits up. We find out, and this is where I was banging my head on the fucking desk. Apparently, Seven and Bejazzle somehow, at some point in time, that's never explained, were big raging lesbians.
I hated that too. I have no defense for that. That's totally against Seven's character. She never showed any sign of being bisexual, and we know that she was hetero, at least because she hooked up with Chakotay. So I have no defense of this. This is them plugging in modern day social dynamics and politics.
Yep. So we can move on. So they've been back to the ship with Maddox, and we find out that what do you call her? Daj has a sister called Soji, who is on the Borg ship, which for some reason is called the Relic or something like that. Uh, do you want to add anything to that?
I don't know why it would be called a relic, even if it's 15 years old. They remember a couple episodes ago the actual relic, the old Romulan warbird that they called antique and cool, and this Borg cube is just a relic. It's old and decrepit, I guess. Even though I bet you that cube could probably still destroy Earth. Just throwing that out there. I wouldn't leave the Romulans with this cube.
I thought it was a relic. It's not relic. What was it? I'll think about it later. But yeah, so we turn around and we see Agnes tell Monix that she has, yeah, the artifact. Thank you, what? Beth. Thank you, Beth. But we find out that Agnes tells Monix that she has to kill him to atone for knowing this massive secret. And then Agnes kills Monix in front of the EMH.
Ah, okay. I I thought she was gonna turn out to be a bad guy. I said that in my review a few episodes ago, but I did not think she was gonna murder Maddox right there in sickbay where, uh, screw the EMH, the computer would see what she did.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be any amount of evidence showing she killed Monix. And I'm guessing that will never be, we'll never see the EMH say, "Oh, by the way, Agnes killed that guy." It'll just be completely, blew over and on to the next episode. I think that's what's going to happen.
I hated it. Okay, I'm okay with her being a bad guy. Fine with it. But the way she killed him, it would make more sense to smother him with a pillow than use the computer to kill him. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's the writing on this show. Um, like I knew. I mean, like it's just that she has to atone. What the fuck? Atone for what? For helping to create Dodge and her sister Soji. I mean, like there's already been a lot of people saying that we found out that the Romulans created the Borg, which, quite frankly, I'm pretty sure is going to be the big reveal. And then humans are going to create sense who are going to become the Borg again. It's all happening over again, So I think that's actually going to be the big reveal. But it's just she should have done it quietly, Uh, she should have just, like kissed him and then injected him with something that is untraceable or something. A sneaky way to die, not just, you know, just fucking kill it, let him die in front of the EMH. It's
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense. And she just waited, let Picard get the info he needed, and then, let him rest, and then murders him. I don't know. I got nothing on that one. Um, I believe I'm not skipping anything now. I think this is when the captain goes, are you going to say anything to our stowaway? And Picard just knows who it is immediately, and she tells him to fuck off, go away.
yeah, that is one of the scenes, but we do see that before that Seven gives Picard a little chip that if he needs to contact her, he can, and asks Picard, when you came back from the collective, and remember, she was in the collective for basically 20 years, and Picard was in the collective for all of about 3 or 4 days. So she asks him, "Did you get all of your humanity back?" And he says, "No." Do you buy that?
Only reason I do is in First Contact, he can actually still hear the Borg. So I'm guessing he can still hear them even in his older age.
Yeah, but hearing the Borg is different from having your humanity. I mean, remember, uh, it was the end of season three, the first episode of season four, that he was the Borg, and then from the entire season four, five, six, and seven, plus the movies, he was back to being Jean-Luc Picard. He had his full full humanity when he dealt with Anson Rowe, when he dealt later on with Hugh. You know, if he didn't have all his humanity back, those 4 seasons would have been completely different. Not to mention the movies, and of course, I mean, I don't understand how he can claim that when we know he was the same person after he was with the Borg that he was before. You know, there was no difference in his character after he visited Robert on the holiday. He got back to who he was, and over time he came back to himself. So he was back to himself already. So how can he say he didn't have all of his humanity back?
I see your point, but hearing the collective and having that in the back of your mind forever after that point, I could see how somebody would claim that they are not fully themselves, you know?
Well, it's a different, again, it's a difference between, remember, he only heard them when they were in, you know, when they were around. He didn't hear them all the time. It was just when they started to come into Federation territory, into range of him, that he heard them. He doesn't hear them all the time. It's just a leftover residual, you would say. But being able again to hear the Borg is nothing to do with his humanity. He could have his full humanity and still hear the Borg when they're close. You know, I'm just saying I don't buy it.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. I'm kind of 50 on it because of the voices when the Borg are around, and that cube is in the system, so maybe he's hearing stuff. But also, he could just be trying to help Seven feel better. Which I don't know why, because Seven's a badass. Because the next thing happens. She lies to him. No, I don't need a ride. They should be sending somebody to pick me up. Can you beam me back down? And the idiots beam her right back to the bar.
Well, I think Picard knew that was a lie the moment she lifted up 2 guns. You know, so I think he knew she was lying and he couldn't really do anything to stop her, so he just let her go anyway. But then we have this scene, and right, we have seen phasers disintegrate people. We have seen phasers just kill people. Here, here they literally turn the person into a big splash of red dust. Yeah,
That was odd, wasn't it?
you know, I can understand why they did it. It was again, oh look, shock factor, but it would have been better if she just shot her and had a burn mark on her chest and fell down, or completely disintegrated her. But no, we have to see her burn up from the inside out, and then big puff of red dust because edgy.
Either that, or they have a better effects budget and better effects, so they're using them. I mean, it's gonna look different. The look is gonna be different from every other Trek show. I mean, that's kind.
I Go ahead, lad.
Oh no, I was done. I was just trying to fill dead air and hoping my internet didn't crash. But yeah, no, my defense would be better effects, and they thought it looked cool. I don't know.
Nah, I'd say you're probably right that they thought it looked cool, but it just didn't work for me. You know, but anyway, so she ends up shooting into nothing. We don't see the people she's shooting. Uh, and then what happens next? I think that's the scene where we see him talking to Rafi, and then the episode ends, and we get another 30-second thing of what's going to happen in the next episode, where somehow somehow this one tiny ship is going to somehow find its way onto the Borg cube.
Uh, we'll see how that plays out. Last time when I first discussed this episode, I gave it a 3. Thinking it over and going through it scene by scene with you, because we go through it scene by scene. Me and Frank do kind of an overview, immediate reaction. But so many scenes really didn't make sense. Felt out of place. This was not Jonathan Franks' best directing job ever. Well, then again, nothing can be First Contact, which he directed, I believe. But yeah, I'm gonna drop it down to a 2.5, just because the graphics are good. It's hard to knock it down to a 2 or a 1 when they're spending a very large amount in design and special effects budget.
For me, as I've said before, I don't care about effects if there's a great story. I can look at the original series, which had questionable effects, but there were still great episodes because it was a great story. Same thing goes for Babylon 5. I mean, today the effects look like, I can probably make better on my computer. But for them at the time, they had a great story. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how good the effects are in these episodes of Picard, it's a shitty fucking story with a bunch of unanswered questions and a number of plot holes. So, can you guess what my final score is for this episode?
Um, -10.
Well, no, I'll not go into negative, but it'll definitely get a 0. Again, every episode has got a 0 over me because there's nothing here. It's not a good story. It's not a well written story that they're trying to do. And just everything is wrong.
Okay, well, there you have it. It's so what? 2.5 times 0 is 0. Overall I got a 0, huh? No. But thank you everybody for watching. Um Hopefully we'll be doing it again next week. There's only 4 more episodes left, right? How bad can it get?
5 more, old boy. Halfway.
Damn it. Ah. Oh, you're right. Good night. Good luck. And let's make Star Trek great again. I don't know. Maybe they could tell a good story in 20 years. We'll see. Voice or nerd. Um, his link for his channel is in the description. Go check it out. He does a standalone review by himself where you get to watch him rip out his own eyeballs live on camera. It's like watching Picard all over again. Anything else you want to add before I end the stream?
I could say something about what I want to happen to Stuart, Kurtzman, and Rex, but I won't on your channel.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. We're out of here.